Look at your hands. Really look at them. Look at the deep, rhythmic exhaustion hiding behind your eyes in the mirror every single morning. They told you from the very beginning that bleeding for the grind would eventually make you a king. They lied to you. You are not building an empire. You are not forging a legacy. You are merely the fuel being fed into the furnace of someone else's machine. Welcome back to Human Nature Decoder. Today, we are performing a cold, clinical autopsy on the most dangerous illusion you have ever been sold. The grand, poisonous, and multi-generational myth of hard work. From the very moment you were able to understand human speech, you were indoctrinated into a cult. It is the cult of the grind, the gospel of sweat. You were taught by parents who were themselves tired, by teachers who were themselves trapped, and by a society that is itself a factory, that if you just kept your head down, if you just suffered a little more than the person standing next to you, the universe would eventually balance the scales. You were promised that if you sacrificed your sleep, your youth, and your sanity upon the altar of labor, you would eventually be handed a crown. It is a beautiful narrative. It is a comforting lie, and it is completely demonstrably false. The world has never rewarded those who carry the heaviest stones. Never. The world rewards the individuals who own the quarry. Look back at the sprawling, blood-soaked timeline of human history. The hardest workers, the ones who broke their backs under a blistering sun, the ones whose names have been erased by the dust of time, were not the kings. They were the slaves. They were the anonymous millions who built the Great Pyramids, not the pharaohs who were immortalized inside them. And right now, in this modern digital era, you're building a towering monument to someone else's glory. You are paying for every single brick with the only currency that actually matters, your own irreplaceable time. You feel it, don't you? In the quiet, suffocating moments before sleep, that silent, creeping rage, that heavy, undeniable realization that the game you are playing is fundamentally, mathematically rigged against you. It is rigged. But history's greatest strategists, minds like Niccolò Machiavelli, did not waste their energy crying about the unfairness of the game. They learned how to rig it in reverse. They understood a secret that the ruling class fiercely protects with every resource they have. Power is never generated by friction. Power is never generated by effort. Power is generated by leverage. It is time to stop working and start observing. Almost everything you currently believe to be a moral virtue is, in reality, a psychological cage designed to keep you exactly where you are. To break out of this cage, you must stop identifying as a beast of burden and start identifying as a predator of opportunity. This requires a mastery of the 6 pillars of human nature that the worker class is never permitted to know. Pattern 1, the law of manufactured scarcity. When you are always available, your perceived value plummets to absolute zero. Human beings are biologically wired to only obsess over what they cannot easily obtain. By strategically withdrawing your physical presence, your immediate attention, and your time, you force others to actively chase you. You transition from being a willing participant to being the ultimate prize. Think about the high-level executives, the shadow brokers, or the power players in any industry. Do they answer every text within 30 seconds? Are they available for every quick sync or menial coffee chat? Do they explain their whereabouts to their subordinates? No. Their absence is what creates their gravity. Their silence is what generates their mystery. When they finally do speak, the entire room leans in. When they finally do show up, it is treated as a significant event. You, on the other hand, have made yourself a commodity. You are the heir everywhere, and therefore completely unnoticed and undervalued. You have allowed the world to believe that your time is an infinite resource that can be tapped at any moment for any reason. This is a strategic suicide. You need to become the oxygen tank in a room where the air is rapidly running out. Modern society has successfully convinced you that your energy is cheap, that it is a freely renewable resource that you are morally obligated to pour out onto the floor of your job, your social obligations, and your endless daily tasks. The motivational speakers scream at you to leave it all on the field, but they never want you to ask the most important question: who exactly owns the field? When you leave it all on the field, you drag yourself home with absolutely nothing left for yourself. You return to your life as an empty, hollowed-out shell. You have zero cognitive bandwidth left for your own mind, zero energy left to plot your escape. This is not an accident. This is a brilliant, invisible design. A tired population is a fiercely compliant population. A deeply exhausted man does not revolt. He does not have the energy to question the economic structure, to analyze the tax codes, or to look up at the towering hierarchy and demand to know why he is trapped at the very bottom. He is too entirely consumed with the desperate, exhausting act of mere survival. He is too busy trying to catch his breath to realize he is drowning. Machiavelli understood that any individual who wishes to wield true influence must fiercely protect their reserve of force. If a leader is frantic, exhausted, and constantly reacting, they become sloppy, they make critical errors. Most dangerously, they become predictable. By practicing manufactured scarcity, you regain control over the narrative of your value. You stop being the person who helps and start being the person who bestows. You do not attend the meeting, you grant your presence to the discussion. You do not finish the task, you deliver the result. This subtle shift in vocabulary and presence alters the chemical composition of how others perceive you. They begin to fear losing access to you, and fear of loss is a far more powerful motivator than the hope of gain. Pattern 2. The illusion of the flawed confession. People who present themselves as completely perfect are terrifying, and they are inherently untrustworthy. To rapidly disarm a target, you must intentionally reveal a minor, carefully calculated weakness. You confess to a small, harmless flaw that does not actually damage your core reputation. This manufactured vulnerability instantly lowers their defenses and violently tricks them into handing you their genuine trust. Machiavelli understood that any prince, any ruler, or any individual who wishes to wield true influence must be a master of the mask, but you cannot be a monolith of cold steel. If you appear too perfect, people will inherently resent you. They will suspect you. They will look for the hidden catch, the secret agenda, or the buried corpse. To bypass this natural human defense mechanism, you must give them what they want: a flaw. When you admit to a small mistake, a minor quirk, or a harmless personal failing, you become human in their eyes. You become relatable. You become safe. While they are busy feeling subtly superior to you because of your small flaw, they drop their guard. They stop analyzing your moves. They stop questioning your motives. This is the Trojan horse of psychological warfare. You are gaining unfettered access to their true motivations and their psychological blind spots, while they are distracted by the shiny small confession you just handed them. Trust is the lubricant of power, and the flawed confession is the key that unlocks the door to their subconscious. Understand this right now. Leisure is not a luxury reserved for the lucky. Leisure is a weapon. It is only in the quiet, undisturbed, unhurried moments that high-level strategy is actually born. When you are constantly grinding, your head is forced downward. You are staring at the dirt. You are so intensely focused on chopping the wood that you cannot see the wolf circling behind you, and you certainly cannot see the mountain of gold sitting quietly on the horizon. The relentless hustle culture you see plastered all over the internet is modern propaganda. It is the gladiator in the dirt trying to convince the other gladiators that dying brutally in the arena is a glorious, noble act. All it really does is keep the free entertainment running for the emperor sitting comfortably in the stands. You must learn to hoard your energy with the paranoia of a dragon guarding gold. Every single ounce of effort you expend must have a heavily calculated, disproportionate return on investment. If you are working yourself to the bone simply to maintain your current standard of living, you are not working, you are being farmed. Why do you feel a pang of sharp guilt when you sit perfectly still? Answer that for yourself. Why does a quiet Sunday afternoon of doing absolutely nothing feel like you are committing a crime? It is because you have been deeply indoctrinated into a slave morality, a twisted value system that explicitly equates your personal suffering with your moral goodness. You have been brainwashed to believe that if a task hurts, it must be valuable. You believe that sacrificing your sleep, abandoning your health, and trading away your sanity makes you a noble martyr. Pattern 3. The weaponization of the silent void. The average human mind is programmed to panic in the presence of absolute heavy silence. When you are confronted or when you are negotiating the terms of your reality, simply state your position and then completely shut your mouth. The agonizing, suffocating silence will force the other person to nervously keep talking, to start over-explaining, and to ultimately negotiate against themselves just to fill the terrifying void. Pain is not a professional credential. Suffering is not a currency you can spend. You cannot walk into a bank, place your burnout on the counter, and ask to make a deposit. You must aggressively detach your sense of self-worth from your daily struggle. You are not inherently valuable just because you suffer. You are only valuable based on what you can control, influence, and leverage. In the boardroom, the office, or the bedroom, the person who speaks the least holds the most cards. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with silence. They feel a biological urge to fill the vacuum with words. They feel the need to justify themselves, to explain their actions, or to seek approval. The strategist, however, uses silence as a high-pressure chamber. When you remain silent after asking a difficult question or stating a firm position, you become a mirror for the other person's own insecurities. They will try to please you. They will offer concessions you didn't even ask for. They will reveal information they should have kept hidden in the shadows. Silence is the ultimate display of psychological dominance. It signals to the world that you are comfortable in your own skin. It signals that you do not need their validation to survive. It signals that you are the one observing, and they are the ones being judged. Internalize this dark truth. You are entirely replaceable to them. If you were to drop dead at your desk this afternoon, your job opening would be posted online before your family even had the chance to write your obituary. The machinery does not mourn the broken cog. It does not pause to reflect on the years of service. It simply reaches into the bin and installs a new one. So why are you sacrificing your life force for it? The machine will happily consume you, digest your youth, and excrete you when you are broken. And then, without a second of hesitation, it will replace you with a younger, cheaper, and more desperate version of yourself. This is the reality of the game. If you do not play the game, you are played by the game. Pattern 4. The architecture of unasked favors. Never wait for someone to beg for your assistance. Provide a small, highly visible favor before they even realize they need the help. This covert operation secretly installs a heavy psychological debt directly into their subconscious mind. When the specific time comes for you to ask for a massive favor in return, they will eagerly comply simply to relieve the agonizing internal pressure of that unspoken debt. This is not about being a nice person. This is not about kindness or altruism. It is about social engineering and the cold calculation of human debt. By solving a problem for a superior or a peer before they have to ask, you eliminate the power dynamic of the ask and replace it with the power dynamic of the debt. You are now a creditor in the social bank, and in the world of Machiavellian strategy, being a creditor is the only way to ensure you are never the one being spent. Most people wait until they are asked for help, which makes their help a response. The architect provides help as a proactive strike. When you provide an unasked favor, the recipient feels a sudden, sharp burst of gratitude mixed with an underlying sense of obligation. They are now behind in the social transaction. They owe you, and human beings are hardwired to loathe the feeling of owing someone else. They will wait for the chance to even the score. When that chance arrives, you will be the one who defines the terms of the repayment. Here is a ruthless lesson straight from the shadows of human nature. If you become too exceptionally good at doing the dirty, heavy lifting, you will never, ever be permitted to stop doing it. Extreme competence at low-level tasks is a permanent trap. when you eagerly show the world that you are capable of carrying a massive load. Do you know what the world does? It does not hand you a medal, it hands you a heavier load. The world points at you and says, look how strong they are. They can handle the burden of 3 people. And because you are starved for validation, because you desperately want to be perceived as reliable and good, you bow your head and you take it. You become the designated pack mule of your environment. You become the person who is too valuable to promote, because you're too useful exactly where you are. Pattern 5. The mirror of Narcissus. People are deeply, endlessly, profoundly obsessed with themselves. To instantly bypass someone's critical guard, quietly and subtly mirror their exact body language, their specific vocal pacing, and their favored vocabulary. You become an invisible walking reflection of their own ego. They will feel an intense, entirely unnatural bond to you without ever realizing they are simply falling deeply in love with their own reflection. When people feel understood and validated, they stop being analytical. They stop questioning your motives. They feel a sense of safety around you that is entirely manufactured. While they are basking in the comfort of your presence, you are free to maneuver, to gather intelligence, and to position yourself for the killing blow. Most people try to impress others by talking about themselves, their achievements, and their skills. This is an amateur move. The master strategist knows that the most interesting person in the world to anyone is themselves. By mirroring them, you are providing them with the ultimate form of validation. You are telling them, without saying a word, that they are correct, that they are important, and that they are the center of the universe. In this state of ego inflation, their critical thinking skills evaporate. They become predictable. They become malleable. You can guide their thoughts, influence their decisions, and plant the seeds of your own agenda in the fertile soil of their narcissism. Consider the dichotomy of the lion and the fox. The lion represents pure, unadulterated force. It is terrifying to the wolves. It smashes violently through obstacles. It is the ultimate physical embodiment of hard, grinding work. The lion roars, it fights, it bleeds, and it leaves everything on the battlefield. But the fox operates on an entirely different frequency. The fox is physically weaker. It knows it cannot survive a head-on collision with a pack of starving wolves. But the fox possesses something far more lethal than muscle. It possesses supreme situational awareness. The fox knows exactly where the hidden traps are buried in the snow. The fox can navigate the most treacherous landscape without ever snapping a twig. Blind hard work is the way of the lion. It is the tragic attempt to solve every complex problem by running headfirst into a brick wall, desperately hoping the bricks shatter before your skull does. But if you look closely at the architecture of reality, the world is run by foxes. The fox does not break its back against the wall. The fox quietly searches the perimeter until it finds the hidden door. Or, even better, the fox uses psychological leverage to convince a foolish lion to smash the wall down on its behalf. Pattern 6. The deployment of strategic incompetence. If you foolishly demonstrate extreme competence at a low-level, miserable task, you'll be permanently chained to that exact task for the rest of your natural life. To avoid becoming the designated pack mule of your environment, you must actively perform poorly at the things that do not serve your ultimate ascent. Save your absolute blinding brilliance only for the massive maneuvers that directly increase your leverage and your power. If you are the absolute best person in the office at fixing the complicated printer, congratulations, you will be the unpaid printer mechanic for the rest of your career. You must urgently master the art of being incapable of the things that drain your life. This is the ultimate defensive strategy for the modern strategist. Master the tasks that involve strategy and people. Fail at the tasks that involve sweat and compliance. You must aggressively detach your sense of self-worth from your daily struggle. You are valuable because of what you can control, influence, and leverage. Stop volunteering for your own exhaustion. Stop eagerly raising your hand to solve chaotic problems that offer absolutely zero payout in terms of real power or financial leverage. Silence is very often the most devastatingly effective form of refusal. When a massive, chaotic new burden is presented to the room, remain completely silent. Let the suffocating weight of that problem fall onto someone else's desperate shoulders. Why do you feel the need to be the hero of the menial? Why do you want to be the one who saves the day for a project that doesn't even have your name on it? This is your ego seeking a cheap thrill of validation at the expense of your actual future. You are trading your life force for a thank you from a person who doesn't even respect you. The master strategist knows that his brilliance is a limited resource. He does not waste it on the mundane. He saves his power for the decisive moment. He allows himself to be seen as average, even slightly below average, in the eyes of the many, so that he can remain entirely underestimated until it is too late for them to react. Underestimation is the ultimate shield. If they don't see you as a threat, they won't build a wall. And if there is no wall, you can simply walk into the throne room. Conclusion: from builder to architect. Imagine looking up at a towering, half-built skyscraper. Dangling hundreds of feet in the air are dozens of men, clinging to steel beams. They are welding hot metal, driving heavy rivets, dripping with sweat, and actively risking their actual lives with every gust of wind. They are the builders. They are embodying the absolute peak of hard work. Now look miles away in a quiet, climate-controlled office. There sits one single individual looking down at a piece of paper. They are not sweating. They are not bleeding. They are completely safe. They are simply holding a pen. They are the architect. The brave builders hanging from the sky are paid a flat hourly wage to bleed. The architect in the quiet room is paid millions for the sheer value of the vision. When the final pane of glass is installed, the exhausted builders are immediately fired. They must pack up their tools and frantically go find another dangerous structure to bleed upon, just to feed their families. But the architect's name is permanently carved into the marble foundation of the building itself. The most insidious lie embedded in the hard work scam is the belief that if you just lay enough heavy bricks, the universe will magically promote you to the role of architect. It will never happen. You do not and cannot promote your way from carrying the bricks to designing the entire city. They are fundamentally different categories of human existence. They are different species of mindset. To transition into the architect, you must completely destroy your psychological identification with physical labor. You must actively stop taking hollow pride in how heavy the burden is on your back. You must start obsessively thinking about the overarching design. What exactly is the architectural blueprint of your current life? Are you just blindly laying bricks that a stranger handed to you this morning? Or do you actually own the master blueprint? The terrifying reality is that the vast majority of human beings are living entirely by default. They are blindly reciting a dusty script handed to them by their parents, their teachers, and a culture designed to farm them. Go to a school you hate, get a job that drains you, borrow money to buy a house you barely sleep in, retire when your body is broken, and quietly die. That is not a life strategy. That is a factory blueprint for a worker bee. It is not designed for a sovereign human being. It is designed for a cog. The true architect looks at the blueprint and violently questions the design. The architect points to the center and asks, why are we even building this specific wall? Does this structure even need to exist? The architect does not fight the materials. The architect manipulates them. Machiavelli teaches us the dark truth that people are merely materials. Sudden, chaotic events are materials. The explosive emotions of the masses are materials. A master strategist takes the swirling chaos of the world and arrangement into a structure that directly benefits their own ascent. When a master faces a massive pile of heavy bricks, he does not complain about his back hurting. He uses leverage to hire a crane. The tectonic plates of the world are violently shifting. The old contracts are burning to ash. The era of the loyal, grind-it-out worker is permanently dead. We are rapidly accelerating into the era of the sovereign individual. The humans who will survive and conquer this new landscape are not the ones who can type the fastest. They are not the ones willing to lift the heaviest boxes. The machines will do all of the heavy lifting. The only individuals who will survive the coming purge are the ones who can actually think, the ones who understand how to direct massive currents of energy rather than just bleeding themselves dry to supply it. You are now fully awake to the architecture of the scam. You can see the thin, invisible strings attached to your limbs. You can see the dark silhouettes of the puppet masters standing in the rafters. That cold, sharp anger you felt at the very beginning of this transmission, do not let it fade. Do not let it dissipate into the air. And above all, do not waste it by screaming pointlessly at the system. Swallow it, compress it, use it as the fuel for your new engine. Let that cold, calculated rage drive you to aggressively study, to quietly plot, and to ruthlessly build. You are officially done operating as a beast of burden. You are finally ready to become the architect. But hear this final warning clearly. The exact moment you decide to stop mindlessly grinding, the very second you step back to actually think, the system will violently attack you. It will aggressively try to make you feel immense guilt. It will try and drag you back into the hypnotic, exhausting rhythm of the machine. This is your final, brutal initiation test. If you can withstand that immense social pressure to conform, if you can stand completely still in the terrifying silence without breaking, your vision will adjust to the dark. You will begin to see leverage points that the exhausted masses cannot even comprehend. You will clearly see the path that leads directly to the throne. We are decoding the unseen rules of reality. We are handing you the blueprints they tried to burn. If this transmission successfully shattered your perspective, take action. Hit the like button and share this with the very few people in your circle who are actually awake enough to understand it. Your engagement is the only way this information reaches those who need to hear it most. Human Nature Decoder is still growing, and we don't have corporate strings or high-budget ads pushing us. Your support, every single like, and every share is what builds our collective reach and bypasses the systems meant to keep these ideas buried. If you want to see more of this content, consider following us on our other platforms linked below. Until next time, stay observant, stay cold, and stay dangerous.